Other things that we have feelings and opinions about, we have copies of our social principles over on the table over there. And also we have voter registration cards. If you haven't registered to vote, please do that, as well as the cards for questions. I want to thank Pastor Brian, who's standing at the back there at the door. He kind of looks like a bouncer, but not really. Brian Atkins, who's at Open Door United Methodist Church up on the hill. And my name is Mark Zier. I'm the pastor at El Sobrani United Methodist Church. And we have some folks here. We even have some folks from St. Luke's United Methodist Church who are here. And we welcome you to this event. We are going to begin with the school board candidates and council. I'm sorry. You know, I get Christmas and Easter confused too. So what can I say? All right. So what we're going to do is here, 2 minutes from each of the candidates. They will introduce themselves and tell you what they're all about, and then we will go to questions and answers. I hope, if you handed me questions, I hope I'll, first of all, be able to read them, and second of all, be able to figure out whether you're asking a question of City Council or the school board, because I don't know that, you know, we didn't have red and yellow cards or anything like that.
She's got a yellow card.
Oh yeah, she got a yellow card. Oh well. Anyway, we'll start, and so I'll just come down here, and we'll begin at this end of the table. You have 2 minutes for an opening statement and a tell us what you're all about and why you're running for City Council.
Can you hear me? Yes. All right. Good evening. All right, my name is Uche Uwahemo, and member of Easter Hill United Methodist Church in Richmond here. I'm also the president of our historic Easter Hill men group that have been in existence for over 64 years. In fact, I'm the youngest president they've ever had. In 2014, I ran for mayor of Richmond here, and we were not successful. And after that event, I was asked by members of this community, the business community, and many of them asked me to run for city council, that they think I would be a great city council member. So I considered that over and over, discussed it, and they decided this is the right time to do it. So give you a quick background. I'm an immigrant, came to this country almost 30 years ago. I had 2 jobs while I went to law school. I received my Juris Doctor, went back to school holding 2 jobs to receive my MBA. After that, I started a small business, consulting business for small businesses and non-profit. Prior to that, I spent 14 years as a social worker, housing homeless folks, people that are disabled, mental health folks, and veterans. So whenever you hear me speak about affordable housing, it's coming from experience, not something someone wrote for me to speak about. It's coming from experience of 14 years. In fact, I've been housing people for over 20 years now. So when you hear me say something about affordable housing or what I think we should do to increase our housing in Richmond, it's coming from experience, not something someone wrote for me. So in 2008, I was a member of volunteers that elected our first African-American president. So I'm looking forward to having more conversation with you about my background and what I intend to do in Richmond. Thank you very much.
All right. I'm just checking this out. Well, anyway, my name is Ben Choi, and I'm running for City Council as well. Like Uche, I think we're an immigrant corner over here. I'm also an immigrant and the children of immigrants. And one story I think that's very illustrative is that I remember the first time my father heard me speaking on the phone when I was probably about 10 or 12. And he looked at me and he said, wow, the person on the other line of that phone probably thinks you're an American, because I could speak without an accent. And the reaction I had to that was actually a little bit mixed, because on the one hand, I understood that he was saying that I had the tools to make the way in this country, and he was proud of me for that. But on the other hand, I wanted to sound like my father. My parents never really got the knack for English, but it made me realize that there are two important things in life. One is to make your way forward, and the other one is to always remember where you came from. I feel like Richmond is on the verge of some great challenges and some great opportunities. With the way things are going in the Bay Area, for the first time really, we might be able to pick and choose the kind of development, the kind of the businesses that come into our city. There's a lot of possibilities in the air, but I think we must always remember where we came from. It's very important to me for Richmond to keep its culture and to keep the people who make Richmond great right here in Richmond. That's why I support rent control and just cause. And at the same time, I feel, I think like Uche does, that we have to very wisely create more housing and more mixed-use development to grow our city, all the while still remembering where we come from.
Thank you.
Hello, good evening, and thank you guys for having me here. So my name is Melvin Willis. I've actually been in Richmond my whole life, and being in Richmond, I actually had a chance to see a transformation in Richmond from where we were once one of the biggest crime-ridden cities in the entire nation to where now our neighborhoods are safer, and at the same time our communities are healthier. At the same time, we still need to do better. Over the past 5 years, I had the opportunity of being a community organizer, learning more about my community and getting to know the people in my neighborhoods. And still seeing the struggles of what people were going through, but also seeing the hope of what people wanted to do to come together to fight for improvements in their neighborhoods, despite adversity. We see a presidential candidate who spreads nothing but hate, racism, sexism, and even racism towards our undocumented community. And I'm appreciative of my time with ACE as a community organizer because it's given me a chance to stand up for homeowners who are facing foreclosure and who are under the thumb of the greed of banks, to stand up for renters who got rent increases and are being unfairly evicted, and also participate in passing a health care program called Contra Costa Cares in the county, where now 3,000 people who are undocumented can get access to health coverage regardless of immigration status. It's because of this I'm thankful for Senator Bernie Sanders, who is calling on people in their communities to transform it for the better, not just worry about the national level, but also the local level as well, for which our revolution gave me an endorsement because of those values that I hold. I take no corporate donations. I've served on a planning commission to help give a $90 million community benefits agreement from Chevron. And I just want to continue to build and work off of that from the city council position. So thank you again for having me here.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cesar Cepeda, and I am running for City Council. Currently, I am President of the Hilltop District Homeowners and Stakeholders Association, and also President of the Hilltop District Neighborhood Council. The association was created about 2.5 years ago, and it was created to be able to hold the city accountable to the $1 million assessment we have at Hilltop. Prior to us being created, we didn't know where our money was going. We didn't know who and how that we're going to be fixing our roads, our streets, our landscaping. We knew the money was there because they were taking it from our taxes. We can see it in the taxes there. But we were not seeing the results. Later on, we figured out, oh, they're using it everywhere else except where it's supposed to be. Since then, we were able to finish, for example, one of the greatest things here, a park. It took 17 years to finish. We finished it in about a year and a half, and that was with a lot of red tape. But we were holding everyone accountable. The neighborhood council came together, and first it was only in a country called Vista. When I became president, we gave a neighborhood council to an area that had an inactive council for 10 years. And we gave a council to a place where there was no neighborhood council, they had no representation. Now we have one of the largest neighborhood councils around the area, around Richmond. I was brought to the United States when I was 8 years old. I was born in Mexico. I was raised here in Richmond and around the areas. I attended Helms. I'm an Oiler. I went to Richmond High. Some of you guys as well. And I went to Contra Costa College as well. I've been very active in my community. I've been doing a lot of different things all around. Thank you for your time.
Janae, I'm going to give you a 30-second warning.
First, I want to thank all of the United Methodist churches who have come together to put on this event. And I want to thank all of you for coming here. So first I'll say a few things about myself. I'm an attorney. I got my JD from UC Berkeley. Before that, I worked as a software engineer. So I know my numbers code. And the JD and the software engineer means that I can understand both the law as well as the city's finances. Now, what did I do in the community before that? And in fact, now also. I volunteered with the Richmond Trees organization. We planted over 500 trees in 5 years. I also volunteer with Writer-Coach Connection, where we go into schools and work one-on-one with students to help them with their writing assignments. I do a double shift. Now, the main thing I have done with the City Council is I have really helped get our finances in order, because last year we were on the brink of bankruptcy. And unless we have good finances, it doesn't matter what promises you make. You are not going to be able to keep them, be they about police, parks, libraries, code enforcement. Because honestly, we all want the same things. We all have the same values. The other things I've been focusing on is working with the school district about education, to work on a parental notification program so that the parents can be more involved in the education of their children. I'm also working with city agencies and building trades so that the people who live here don't just have a job, but well-paying jobs. Thank you very much.
I want to say first off, thank you very much to our hosts. I think it's great when the faith community understands that politics really is about values. It's about what we believe in, and it's great that you're interacting with us in this way, and I appreciate everybody coming out today. I was raised in the family where values were for the little person, the underdog, et cetera, et cetera. My parents volunteered for fair housing in the Fillmore district. We helped out the elderly lady next door. And my political career has been about that. We had the effort to save the schools, which worked. Kennedy, Linden, Grant. I led that effort. Did it in a way where we actually didn't end up paying anything out of pocket from the City of Richmond Treasury in order to do that. Very complicated. We'll talk about the details later. When we had the Chevron deal, we not only got the best environmental pollution and greenhouse gas reduction package in the history of this country, but we got $90 million, and we aimed that precisely at those most in need. The Richmond Promise program, the money for sports, and other youth activities. And so I'm proud of the changes we made. I'm proud that when I got on the council, we had nearly 100 people per year dying in the city of Richmond. We made changes, we got funding, I had a lot to do with the funding, and we started up the ONS, we got more police, better police, job programs, and as of about 2 years ago, the number of homicides was down to 14. So we all know there's a lot of things in politics we don't like, dog and pony shows, whatever. I don't like them any more than anybody else does. But it is really satisfying to know that on occasion, I've been able, working with the community, working with you, to get some things done that respond to my values. And I thank you for that opportunity, and I hope to get that opportunity. Thank
you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As a former school teacher, after 11 years of teaching, I kind of like to speak to the crowd and to be a part of the crowd. I'm Corky Bouzet. I'm the guy you hear about in the city of Richmond. I'm going to talk to you about 5 things. I'm going to talk to you about the budget. I'm going to talk to you about crime. When a 94-year-old lady gets her house broken into, she's beat up. I'm going to talk to you about jobs. And then most of all, I'm going to talk to you about the thing that happened to Richmond across the world, and that was a Richmond Global Campus. We were put on the map across the world because we were going to bring UC Berkeley to the city of Richmond, and it was destroyed. And you have to hold the people accountable that destroyed it, the RPA. You can't go to the chancellor's house and beat up on him and tell him what he better do. You've got to have the ability to sit down and work with people. As your vice mayor in the city of Richmond, I traveled to China, brought back to the city of Richmond a $300 million project known as Terminal Number 1. You heard Mr. Vinay talking in recent about the budget. If it wasn't for my project, we wouldn't have got the $10,000, the $50,000 up front, non-refundable, and $100,000 that went into our budget that balanced it. You know, ladies and gentlemen, you can be a person's friend, but you also have to treat them like your children. If you can't afford to buy a pair of shoes, say, hey, next week we'll get them, but we can't do it today. Our budget is messed up. In 2012, I was a person that would not vote for an unbalanced budget. Ladies and gentlemen, right now, you are one step from bankruptcy in the city of Richmond, let the truth be told. Listen to what our bond measure man said a month and a half ago at the city council. You pulled the rabbits out of the hat, but you have no more rabbits. One more downgrade and you will be in bankruptcy. The crime is just off the hook when you look at auto theft and you look at house burglary. And I'll bring up the rest later on.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jael Myrick. I'm a member of the City Council. And I want to thank you all for hosting us here today, the United Methodist Church, and I want to thank you all for being here. And my apologies for being a little bit late, but we're in the swing of things now. So, over the past 4 years, I've had an incredible opportunity. I was raised in this community. I'm a product of Richmond. I'm a product of our local public schools. And I've had the incredible opportunity to represent my community on the Richmond City Council. And we've dealt with some really complex issues. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that every step of the way, you know, the things have been simple and easy. And anybody who tells you that the decisions we make are simple and easy and just a question of values, frankly, they're wrong. These issues are complex. And so what I want to plead with you to do today is to really make sure that you're voting for people who understand these complexities, who have the combination of both compassion and care, who want to be careful about the decisions that we make. So I'm proud that as a member of the Richmond City Council, I was able to move the agenda forward and working with folks past that amazing $90 million community benefits package with Chevron, which included $35 million for the Richmond Promise, which is now helping send close to 400 kids just this year to college. I can tell you, just 4 years ago, I was sitting on a stage like this, running for office, and multiple people who were running laughed at the idea of the Richmond Promise. It seemed like a joke. It was so out there and crazy. Now, it's a reality. So there's a lot more that we have to do. It's absolutely critical. I'm not going to argue with anybody who said that the budget is important. It is critical that we get our finances in order in the city of Richmond. I was proud to work with people like Vinay and others to make sure that we passed a structurally balanced budget this year and make sure that we get on the right track for the long term. But it's going to be very important that in the coming years we are extremely careful, but we're also compassionate, and we're thinking about how we're going to make sure that we're doing things that are going to best help the people who are struggling the most in our community. That's what I stand for, that's what I'm here for, and I hope to have your support.
Thank you. We will now be taking some questions, and I have them all here. Does anybody else have any more questions for our city council candidates? That's not a question. So, actually, that's a question. That's a question. I'll tell you, it's rough. It's been a rough day. First of all, I hope that everybody's cell phone is off except for maybe mine that's on mute. Put it on mute if you can. Thank you. And so now we will begin with the questions. Here is the question, and I would invite, well, basically all of you, since you'll all, I'm sure, have an opinion on these things, to respond. There are, of course, a number of issues that are common to these questions. The one issue that, of course, comes up over and over again is the issue of rent control. And so I will ask the question this way. Is it fair to exempt from rent control rentals built after 1996? That's one way of getting into the issue of rent control and what you want to do about it. Who would like to be the first one to stick their neck out? If you can keep your answers to a minute, that would be great.
1 minute.
Rent control and just cause for eviction, or just rent control in general, is very limited because there are state laws that limit how you can use rent control. A state law called Costa-Hawkins that was passed a while ago, just basically any unit that was built after 1995 is not covered under rent control. That's just state law. In Richmond, we managed to get a ballot together that can cover the maximum amount of units that you can with the limitations that the state law gives you, which is almost about 10,000 units, and that's why it's written the way it is. But just cause for eviction spreads through all units, houses, regardless of when it was built or not.
Any other folks want to respond? Any other candidates? Yes, sir.
In reference to rent control, let me make this perfectly clear. I do not support rent control. I do not support it. Why? I do not support it because people that are on fixed incomes use their houses to rent, and I don't think they're gouging. And what it's going to do, it's going to cause people, as you see what's happening now, raise their rent on the anticipation of rent control. I think that in the city of Richmond, if you check, our rents are pretty even and pretty down to where people can afford those. I do not support rent control. Read the RPA newsletter. They said 4 years ago, Corky would not support rent control. So thank you.
Anyone else like to speak to that one? Let's move on to the next question then. Well, yeah, I mean,
I thought they're supposed to all answer it.
yeah. Well, if they don't want to answer it, they don't have to. So who else wants to speak to rent control?
We're running out of time.
So unfortunately, rent control is limited, like Melvin said. I do think one of the good things, the brighter side of whether it's fair or not, the brighter side of Costa-Hawkins is that it does not affect new housing built, because the long-term solution for the rising rents that we're seeing in the Bay Area is, of course, to build more housing, more affordable housing, and more market rate housing. So the brighter side of that is that new building is not at all affected. And that's going to be important because I think both for the budget issue and for the ongoing ability of people to stay in Richmond, we're going to have to build new affordable and market rate housing. It's going to be good for the budget and it's going to be good for the people of Richmond.
So, to answer your question, the original question, which is about Costa-Hawkins, which is the law that basically says that certain buildings are exempt from rent control, I think that there are significant problems with that. That said, on the broader issue of rent control itself, I do support rent control. That's well known. I am, as an individual voter, planning to vote in favor of Measure L this November, but that's an issue that you all are going to decide as voters, and we'll see where it goes. The broader question, though, policy-wise, from the City Council standpoint, this is an issue that is extraordinarily complex. And there's no question that had we dealt with it differently, the way cities like Alameda dealt with it, our tenants and landlords would probably be in a better place today. And I take my own blame for some of the mistakes I've made in that cause. I think there are folks on both sides that have made mistakes. I think, again, we could have been a little more careful, but I think there are some folks on the council who could have been a little more compassionate, and we could have been in a better place. But there's a lot of work to do.
So I actually believe every member of everyone running for office should answer this question. That's just my own take. Now, let's get back to the issue here. The issue, and coming from my background, is supply and demand. In this community, we have not made the supply part of the housing. We're not building affordable housing in this community. Many of the folks that are advocating for rent control have been in office since 2004. The question you need to ask is this: how many affordable housing have they built since 2004? Only one new affordable housing. So if you're going to stand here and tell this community that you support something, and you have been in office, your members have been in office for over a decade, so all you can show for it is just one housing, then something is wrong with that, those folks that are running for office. So now the issue here is really, should we support Costa-Hawkins? I think we should support any policy that allow for rental protection in our community, but not this very rental control that we have here. It's a measure that is punitive, and I will not support it.
Around this here. In essence, we need to protect more people. Right? The rent control is about helping people and those that need it the most. I think everyone's arguing against who and should we protect or should we not protect. But also we need to know that we need to build more. We have to go out there and talk to people about building affordable housing and housing for different groups of people, because what is affordable? To everyone is going to be a different number. We all make different incomes. So we want to go out there and build affordable housing for those that we know are lower income and middle income housing. Everyone should have the opportunity, and we want to build it all around the city of Richmond, not keep it in one section of the city. And I think we all know where that section would go. We want to make sure that we build it in the hills. We want to make sure we build it by the water. We want to make sure that we build and give those opportunities to everyone all across Richmond.
Do you support Measure L? Answer the question.
Costa-Hawkins was passed because within 10 years, the availability of rentals in Berkeley had dropped by 15%. Okay? Now, last year when the staff had researched rent control, they gave us 4 options. And the measure that is on the ballot, staff had told us that was the worst option. And why was that the worst option? Because I had supported all the other 3 options. So the San Leandro model saw the rents go up by 80% in 17 years. The model on the ballot, the Oakland model, saw the rents go up by 240% in those 7 years. That is why it's the worst option. Applying just cause to Section 8 is simply going to make housing providers opt out of the Section 8 market. If you vote on L, if you vote for L, you'll be kicking our Section 8 residents to the court. I hope you don't do that. Thank you.
I think when we are looking at the big picture, it's important to remember Measure L, yes or no, is not going to solve the problem. There are going to be significant barriers to working class people being able to work near the jobs, and that's going to happen regardless whether you do have rent control or don't have rent control. We need to work on the affordable housing side of it. I've done that as a council member. Carl Adams has a spot in 21st and Nevin. I talked to about 10 different developers, tried to get hooked up with him. I authored our law that increased the amount of set-asides for affordable housing in the market rate developments. As far as the actual initiative on the ballot, I'm not opposed if there is a history of out-of-control increases in a well-drafted law that doesn't have various unintended consequences, then I would support that. I don't believe Measure L meets that test. I believe it's badly drafted, and I don't support it.
Does everybody say what they want to say about Measure L? Okay, let's go to the next question. What would you do to balance the budget while maintaining adequate funding for police, fire, libraries, parks, code enforcement, and all the other necessities we depend on? Who wants to start?
We have a lot of challenges in the city of Richmond. We're not some gated community like Blackhawk or whatever, where life is easy. We have the same problems that a lot of high unemployment areas do throughout this country. I've responded to that. We can talk and we can beat around the bush, but if you get down to it, if you want those services, you got to pay for them. I'm the person who spearheaded 3 different taxes. I know it's not popular to say the T word, taxes, but I spearheaded those. 2 sales taxes, including Measure U, 1 utility tax. They generally are paid for by big businesses, by Chevron, by people who are rich, people who are out of town. We made a lot of progress in the crime issue, like I said earlier. We would not have done that. We couldn't have funded ONS or the increased police efforts without the money from the taxes. I was behind both of those, all 3 of them. I was the main architect. We put the campaign out. We got the message out to the voters, and the voters rather strongly endorsed all of them. So I'm not going to give you the regular politician. Thank you.
Next.
Thank you. It's interesting that you hear about that, and as an elected official, which I was, is that you have to get more people to come into your city and build. When you build more houses and you build affordable housing, you don't need Measure L, you don't need rent control. You also have to make sure that our city government is hospitable to people that are coming in here to build. When you go to the planning department and you're sitting at the planning department forever, you'll go to another city and build. And, did you call time? Okay. And the other thing that you have to do is you have to make sure you're business friendly. If you're not business friendly, things don't happen in your city. And finally, as a council person, if you recall, I took all of the cars away from the people that were upper management that were driving 100 miles a day, that we were paying for the car and paying for their gas, which was totally, totally wrong. And then I spent $18,000 telling you not to vote for Measure U, and you voted for Measure U, and it didn't do anything for you but go into the budget, which went nowhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Why are you leaving these guys out? Why are you skipping these 2?
I'll get back to them.
One thing to do is that as a city we need to constantly look for new ways of getting new revenue. I know that there's a cultivation tax that people have been interested in for those who want to cultivate in the city of Richmond, and there's been ideas of talking about a real estate transfer tax, but another way to help balance the budget is making sure that our city management and our city staff and our city workers are all sitting at the table and making sure that the funds that we have within our general fund are being distributed out evenly, so it's not teeter-tottering one way or the other. That has been an issue that I've been hearing from the city workers a lot, that it seems to be leaned more towards management than the city. So that's something that we need to look at and see, like, is our budget balanced out and being distributed out evenly, and how are we going to work together to attract also responsible development that will include the city of Richmond's people and make sure that folks have access to it as well and not displace our community. Thank you.
Go back there so there's
So there's a three-pronged answer. First one is, and I have worked hard to attract businesses to the city. We need to show them that we support them. The second thing is you have to manage your personnel well. So this year we eliminated a bunch of overtime. A lot of our unions, particularly fire and management, they have opened closed contracts and given major concessions. Fire, for example, will have cuts in take-home salary of over $6,000 a year. I have also supported measures to raise revenue, like the soda tax. Unfortunately, we didn't have support on the council. Also of making the marijuana sales tax the same as that in Berkeley and Oakland. Again, that was not supported by the council, but I supported it. So I think we need to do all three things: raise revenue, personnel management, and attract businesses. Thank you.
One of the things we need to do is change perception. No one's going to come in and invest in the city of Richmond if we don't change perception. We cannot make our own money. So we need to go out there and get other businesses, get other community members to come in and invest in small and large businesses. That is how we increase the revenue. We want property taxes. We need to build more homes so people can pay us those property taxes if they're going to have it. The perception of Richmond is what's killing us, literally and figuratively. We cannot get a grocery store because they will not come to Richmond, but they'll go to El Cerrito and Pinole. Pinole has 25,000 people. They're going to have 4 grocery stores. We have 110. Sprouts emailed me last week. They will not come to Richmond. What is going on? At the mall, which I have a big stake at the mall there because I'm president of the neighborhood council, I went and I courted investors to come into Richmond. They told me, we don't go to Richmond, we don't stop in Richmond, we don't invest in Richmond. I met with them. We need someone there with the leadership to bring that back to Richmond.
So, nobody said this yet, but one of the, actually Councilmember Pimplay mentioned it briefly, but one of the things on the ballot, as well as Measure L, is extremely important, is Measure M. We have to pass Measure M, and what Measure M is a real estate transfer fee. Now, this is something that people are only going to pay when they're selling their home. So this isn't something that's going to hit your monthly property tax bills or anything like that. And it's going to be critical that Measure M passes if we're going to maintain services for the city of Richmond. Now, as others have said, personnel matters are extremely important as well. We passed a structurally balanced budget this year, but it was not easy. And I was proud, and I know Councilmember Pimplay did as well, to vote for it the whole way through. There was a lot of political pressure to go this way to sort of make sure that we focused on one group or another group, or one program, save one program or the other. But it was critical that we made those hard cuts, and I was proud to be one of the few council members that actually voted the whole way through to make the cuts that we needed to make. And so, it's critical that we continue to do that sort of thing.
I serve on Richmond Workforce Investment Board, and I've served on County Economic Board, and I also serve on GRIP board, so there's a balance when I speak on economic issues. One of the things that we have done on that board is to attract businesses, like to work with business, go out there and get businesses. Currently, we have we've rented over 4 million square foot in Richmond here, commercial space. We have a lot of e-commerce businesses coming to Richmond, Point Pinot area. So we are working behind the scene and we're doing a lot of work. We have over 5,000 jobs coming out of that Point Pinot area. Hilltop Mall is sold. We have buyer from Texas. So there's a lot of work we're doing there to really increase revenue in Richmond. I'm behind the scene doing the work. You need folks that can actually go out there and talk to businesses rather than just talk the talk. We want to develop our downtown. We need folks that can talk to investors. To
the business community. People won't come here with negativity. And it starts at the city manager's level, starts with the mayor, and it trickles all the way down to everyone in the city. Got to be pro-business. And I'll tell you one thing. The way you treat your largest company, like Chevron, is an indication of how you treat little people. When you kick Chevron around like they've been kicked around, other people out there as business people, they see that. Time. And they get a little bit hesitant to come into your city.
So everybody's had a kick at that can, right? Okay. Here we go. Last question. What is the relationship you envision between the Richmond City Council and the West Contra Costa Unified School District? Seems like a good question for a city council. Okay, we'll start at this end.
Well, I'm proud to have worked actually very closely with the school district on a range of issues. Like I said, 4 years ago when I first started talking about the Richmond Promise, it was sort of laughed at and not taken very seriously. Now it's a reality. And it's a program that we know is only going to be successful if we have a close partnership with the school district and implementing it and making sure that we're actually meeting the marks that we need to meet. Now there's a range of other things that we need to do in collaboration with the school district as well. And something that I started after getting elected in 2014 was a program called My Brother's Keeper, which is actually started from the Obama White House. And My Brother's Keeper also requires us to make sure that we're changing and providing services in coordination with nonprofits and with the school district to make sure that young people are meeting other benchmarks. They're reading by 3rd grade, make sure that they're ready for school by kindergarten. And that's going to take a lot, but we're already sort of able to bring in some resources for that. We've already brought in some job training resources, for example, as a result of that program. That's what this allows us to do, and it focuses on the kids that are most at need.
I came from a 3rd world country and we take education very seriously. When I ran for mayor in 2014, I actually met with Charles Ramsey, the then president of the school board, and I discussed some of my vision with him as to where I really believe we should be going. We need to build a technical high school in Richmond. Technical high school, bearing in mind that not every one of our kids want to go to college or have the capacity to go to college. Let's provide them with the technical skills they need in the 21st century to learn how to build computer, build apps, fix everything in this global market that require technical skills. That's where we need to be going. Provide opportunity for these young folks. Give them hope. That's what I truly believe. I've been endorsed by Todd Grove, who's a member of the trustee, for one reason. He has seen the work I have done with our youth in this community, mentoring them, and the work I have in fact done to help our teachers in terms of where they should be in terms of their training. So that's what I believe in, and I'll continue to do that as a council member. Thank you.
The opportunities we give our children are among the most important missions that we have as public servants. And I'm committed to helping improve the schools. But it's a lot of complex issues, and it's not, as a city council member, the direct power is not there. We actually have to be creative. We have to convene subject experts. We have to build our relationships with the district to work towards our students. I also feel that I should bring up the fact that that we don't want to, with the issue of charter schools, we have to be very careful about how much of our district's resources are going to leave the control of the district. So just putting that out there, I know it's a hot button issue, but that's something we need to be discussing. It's a conversation we all need to be having because we all have the same goal in the end, is to improve opportunities for our young people.
One of the things to do as a city council person is making sure that we're constantly engaged with the school boards and aware and vigilant about the kind of issues and concerns that are sitting at the school board table. But on top of that, one of the main important things, and this just comes from the experience of an organizer and just talking to people, we need to make sure that parents and teachers are involved in that process because there are individual concerns that happen at the ground level, and we want to make sure that they're involved so those issues and concerns can also be addressed in how we come up with policies to address all of these issues. I just door knocked the other day where a neighbor wanted to support a teacher at Kennedy now with school supplies because the school isn't providing them for him, so she was going to Costco for her. And for me, even though this is not a school board position I'm running from, that is unacceptable that our teachers are not able to have the supplies they need to educate our children. So as a city council member, we need to be engaged with what's happening in the education of our children with the school board and make sure that parents and teachers are involved in that process as well.
First, we are engaged with the school. We work with the school on the Martin Luther King Center, where now Ms. Kornberg can attest to that. We did a great job working with the Kennedy Swim Center. We are engaged, but you got to understand, the school board is an elected body. We can't go in there and tell them what to do. We can only work with them. We give them support. They give us support. And it's a cooperative effort. We're all in this for the same purpose, to educate our young people to the best of our ability. As someone indicated, we did do the Richmond Promise. We work strongly with all of the West County Unified School District that are in Richmond for that purpose. We are doing, I think, a very good job, and you ought to talk to some of the school board members and let them attest to the kind of job that we're doing. So thank you.
As a product of the Richmond school system, I strongly believe we should be invested in the schools. You guys might have seen back in December, January, there was a program that I was the founder of. It's called Bring the Music Back. As community leaders, we can't just rely on the elected to pick up the community. We also have to take accountability in what we do for our own people. I went to Richmond High and noticed they were missing a band. I went out and I got $110,000, and now Richmond High School has a music band. That's accountability for oneself. You see an issue, go out there and fix it. We are electing people as leaders to help you on the way, but not to fix every issue. This is a community. It's a we. We do it together. It's our community. Thank you.
So I'm a volunteer with Writer Coach Connection. I was a mentor at PAL and a tutor at Lee. So education is something that's very close to my heart. Other than working with the school district about the Richmond Promise program, I personally am working with them on two issues. One is the parental notification program, where the parents will get daily updates of exactly what the kid has been assigned in school, what is due, etc., so that the environment at home becomes more education focused. The second thing is, just as there are AP courses for kids who want to go to college, how about for kids who want to go into the building trades? Those have excellent jobs. So there should be courses that put them in a position where they can get into those trades more easily. So those are the two things that I'm personally working with the school district. Thank you.
I think everybody up here believes in education, And I think we've heard very eloquently why it is. Both my parents were public school teachers. My son Brooke has entered the kindergarten at Washington Elementary. We all care about it. But the real question is, who's going to get the job done? I talked earlier about leading the fight on saving the schools. Talked about the negotiations with Chevron, myself, Jael Myrick, Mayor Butt. They came in, said $20 million, that's it. We wound up with $90 million. A few years ago, I had Madeline Cronenberg. Madeline, can you stand up, please, school board member? We filed an initiative that primarily would have been paid for by Chevron, would have given millions and millions to our local school district and to the city. We scrapped it because of the Chevron settlement for $114 million, which was in part because of the threat of that initiative. So we all love the idea of public education. We're all sincere about it. The question is, which of us have a record of getting it done?
Thank you, sir. And for Mrs. Kohlenberg over there, that's an elected person and president of the board, I worked with Charles Ramsey, who was the president of the board before, and I helped the school district get the money from the city of Richmond to keep it open. I also sat on the board with Councilmember Bates to make sure that the Kennedy Swim Center was just as good as the one down at Point Richmond. I also worked with Councilmember Bates to put the portables right there in front of the Martin Luther King Center. And then I find it ironic, ladies and gentlemen, that Rogers can sit here and say him, Myrick, and the mayor put the program together for the community benefits. Sorry, storyteller, because it took Nat Bates and Corky Bouzet's vote to make it happen. If we didn't vote, it would have never taken place. So it's not just I, it's we. It took 5 votes to make that thing happen. Councilmember Bates, myself, and then Mr. Rogers and everybody else. And on the Promise program, that was Tom Butt's issue. And on the kids program for youth and sports, that was Nat Bates and myself. So when your kids go to sports, we're the ones that did it. They took it away. Thank you.
Candidates, I want to commend you on being on time, more or less. We're going to now wrap this up. There were a couple of other questions, but we're coming up to the hour. And so I'm going to ask you to take 1 minute to give your closing remarks. I want to say what it is that you're going to bring to the City Council that's not already there.
Well, thank you. And thank you again for your time. Like I said, it's been an honor over the past 4 years to serve you on the City Council, and I hope to serve you for an additional 4 years. I'm honored to have worked on a range of issues to really impact and make life better for the people that I grew up with and the community that I love most. A lot of talk has happened about the Richmond Promise. The facts are there. 4 years ago, I was pushing it. There wasn't a lot of support for it. Mayor Butt absolutely was a supporter of it as well, and once I got on the council, he and I started working together to make it happen. Jim Rogers joined us in that effort, and I'm proud of that, and I'm proud that that's a reality. There's a range of other issues that we're dealing with, and we need people on the council who are going to combine compassion for the community, compassion for people who are struggling, with care, with being very careful about the decisions that we're making. It's not good enough to be one or the other. So it's going to be really hard, and I hope that we vote for folks who are going to be independent, think for themselves, and really work to make this community stronger. You're not going to agree with every single decision that I make, and I'm fine with that, but there's a lot of work that we need to do. Thanks.
Thank you. In November 8th, you will be asked to make a very, very important decision. You will be asked to select 3 members of this group here, 3 most qualified people to lead our community moving forward. I hope that you will take that responsibility very serious. Currently, we have 3 members of the council that are what we call social justice folks. In that council, there's no person there with any business background, 0. So again, when we're looking for investors to come to Richmond, we're looking for someone with balance. I have more balance than anyone. I've worked in nonprofit for over 14 years. I've done private business. I've worked in public sector. So what you're looking for is someone with balance that can work with anyone here. I pretty much get along with anyone here. I don't agree with everyone, but I do get along with them. So that's what you're looking for. Someone who's tough, who can make the tough decisions, not just make decisions to look good. I have no problem making those tough decisions, and that's what I hope you will vote for me in November 8th. Thank you.
I just want to thank you all for coming out tonight. It actually does my heart good to see so many people invested in our community and in our future. You know, it occurs to me with the I and we stuff that I actually haven't used I that much. So just so you folks don't think I just showed up here from nowhere, I should say that I've been on the Planning Commission for the last 6 years. I should say that I was formerly a member of the Richmond Coordinating Council for the Neighborhood Councils. I should say that I sit on the board of a social justice nonprofit called Urban Habitat. I too believe in balance, and I think what Jael was bringing up is important. We need people that are careful, and we need people that are choosy about the kind of things that go on in Richmond. But we also need to make sure the values are there, and I just want to make sure you folks keep that in mind when we come to November 9th.
Yeah, I mean, thank you guys all for coming out. Once again, I've been in Richmond my whole life, and in that time I've had the opportunity to be a community organizer and get to know so many people over the past 5 years. The Richmond community is something I have personal investment in. The reason I'm running for city council is because I hear issues and concerns every single day from the community. Crime, violence, lack of affordable housing, lack of access to health care, education. I hear a wide variety of issues, and I'm running because I feel like I can do so much more for those people I talk to at the door from a council position. Regardless of what happens in the election, this is something that I'm still going to be involved in because I just am personally invested in this community. I've been a part of passing health care programs for the undocumented. I've been a part of getting rent control and just cause for eviction on a ballot. If not vote for me, vote for rent control and just cause for eviction for those who are getting insane rent increases every single day and who are being evicted unfairly. I do appreciate the opportunity for being here. Thank you so much.
Well, I want to thank you for the votes that I've received from you for the last 35 years. I'm an economic development individual who believes, number one, economic development is a key to any kind of successful city. It provides employment opportunities and tax revenue. Those are primary factors that pushes a city. Councilman Bouzet and I, we worked to bring about the Terminal 1, which is 350 units, almost $500 million worth of development. Every major development, the Target, Hilltop, you can look around. I have been part of it. I don't take credit for all of that. I work as a team, and that's what we need. Most important, whoever you elect someone to know how to count. If you don't know how to count and you can't balance a budget, you shouldn't be up there. You can't spend money that you don't have. That's a given. That goes with your budgetary situation as well as the city. Run the city professionally and balance your budget. Thank you.
A bridge is what we need. Someone that is able to work with all sides and look at every single side and know that every community is by individual and they all have their needs, but we're all one big community. I want to be able to work on the infrastructure of our city. Our roads need help. Our parks need help. And be able to bring a balance. We need to be able to build the parks that our community needs to be healthy and be able to bring in those businesses that are going to generate that revenue that's going to build those parks and give us this healthy, beautiful community that we have. Thank you for being out here tonight. Look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you all again for coming here. The number one job of a council member is to oversee a budget that is $148 million every year. So you have to decide who is the most qualified to do this job. I have taken a lot of political risk to pull our city back from the brink of bankruptcy last year. My heart is with education and with jobs, better jobs, because that is what is going to bring opportunity and hope to our children and to our people. So I humbly request you for your vote to keep me on the council so that I can keep working for you. Thank you.
I've been proud to be part over starting in 2003 in the progress that Richmond made. If you go back then, the city budget was in shambles. We had to lay off basically about a third of the city workforce. It was the most painful thing I've ever done in public life. We bit the bullet, we did it. I got my hit pieces from the unions after that. Nat Bates joined me in that along with the rest of the council. So I'm somebody who is going to make the tough calls, is going to make the tough decisions, because I do care about helping our community, especially those who most need that help. And if there's political risk, that's okay. I'll take my chances on that. We have the opportunity in Richmond to move forward and not just to have development in the city of Richmond, but to have development that benefits the people who really need it. Unemployed people, giving people hope, cutting the cycle of poverty and unemployment. We can do that, and I certainly hope you give me the chance to work with you to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming out. And you heard from your sitting council person bankruptcy last year, okay? Check the record on the city council. I was a person that would not vote for an unbalanced budget. That's what I did. I got in trouble for it. So like Councilmember Bates said, put somebody up there that can add. Because if they can't add, you're going to get back to where you are now. This same council disbanded your finance committee. If you're going to bankruptcy, why would you get rid of your finance committee? And if you can't count, you can't be there. On my brochure it says, help me to finish the work I started. Yes, I'm loud, outspoken, RPA can't stand me, but you know what? If you put 4 people on that council that are RPA people, you get exactly what you asked for, because there'll be no bridge that Caesar just talked about, because it's their way or the highway. And we have to make sure our city moves forward. We've been going backwards, not forward. Thank you.
Hi, Pastor Brian. I was trying to organize this event. I'm not an organizer, and so don't time me. I'm a pastor. Listen, my church service starts and ends on time, even if we have communion. But I want to say most of these people didn't respond in time, or I didn't know we were going to have so many candidates tonight. So what I really want to do is thank them for being here, but also make an appeal to you. I know it's a late night. I want to appeal to you to stay, hang on, and listen to our school board candidates. And if I may say so, we have spent some late nights in the school board meetings in the last several months. And I can't help but think that the decisions we make on November 8th have a direct impact on the late nights we spend in the school board meetings in months to come. So I'm asking you to make an investment tonight. Just hang on a little longer, get some coffee, and a little bit of snack, but stay if you can. I really hope you will, and I really appreciate these folks being here. So I think it's time for the transition, right?
Yeah, it's time for the transition. 5 minutes.